Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Dave's Top 3,000 Songs of the Rock Era. Today I'm up to song number 2331, and that one is 6345789 Soulsville, USA by Wilson Pickett. This one came out in 1966. Here's a picture of the single, and it was also released on his album called The Exciting Wilson Pickett. And here's a picture of Wilson Pickett around the time he recorded it. We'll get into him later. First, I'm going to feature a sample of his song and react to it. So here it goes.
If you need a little loving, call on me. All right. And if you want a little hugging, call on me, baby. Mm-hmm. I'll be right here at home. All you got to do is pick up your telephone and dial now. 6345789. What's my number? 6345789.
Okay, that's the first verse of 6345789 Soulsville, USA by Wilson Pickett. I think it's a really good soul and R&B tune. He was a really great soul singer. He had a lot of hits, and I think this is one of his really great ones. And not too much to say about the song per se. There's one interesting fact about this song. I already featured a song with another telephone number on it. Maybe you remember it was Beechwood 45789. That was by the Marvelettes. That came in at number 2734 on my list. Um, and one thing that's interesting about that song, I don't know how many guys are familiar with the, the area code prefixes they used to use. Not the area code, but just the first three, like directory prefix. They used to have operators that would work at a station and that would have a name that was the first two digits of the phone number. And so Beechwood, the first two numbers are 2 for B and 3 for E. So that number is 2345789. That only differs from 6345789 by the first digit, which I think is kind of interesting. And I don't know if this is true, but I read this on Wikipedia that Wilson Pickett deliberately used the number 6345789 as a reference to the Marvelettes tune. He probably did because pretty unlikely this would just be an accident, even though the numbers are almost in sequence. I don't know. Maybe you guys can tell me. But it's a good song, and it was featured in a lot of popular culture. Maybe I should talk about that first. It was also actually covered by a lot of other artists. The biggest cover, I think, was by Tina Turner. This was not a hit in the USA. I don't even know if it was released in the USA, but it was recorded in Europe and I guess live along with her version was along with Robert Clay. I'm not even Robert Corey. I think I'm not even familiar with him. But yeah, this was I hit in 3 European countries. I forget which ones. And it was also recorded by several other artists. I don't think any of them had hits with it. But pretty famous song, pretty well covered song. Another thing I should say about it, it was I don't know how many guys saw the movie The Blues Brothers 2000. It was a really terrible movie, I think. It was a sequel to the original Blues Brothers. It was a really fantastic movie, by the way. The original one came out in 1980. I think you guys all know it starred Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi as the Blues Brothers, Jake and Elwood Blues. And of course, John Belushi died in 1982, just a couple of years after that movie came out, and so they obviously couldn't use him. And I don't think they could even use another actor who played Elwood Blues because Belushi was irreplaceable. Who they did end up using for his replacement, though, was John Goodman, who I'm really not a big fan of. And he wasn't very good in this movie. And it really wasn't a good movie. But one scene I really did like in this movie was the scene where I guess they're at a party line, one of the old phone sex party lines, that were kind of popular at the time the movie came out. The movie came out in 1998, by the way, just a couple of years before the turn of the millennium is referenced to in the title. But what's interesting about this song, I mean, all the people that you see in this picture sang along these songs. I guess these are supposed to be the phone operators, and I guess they were all interested in getting in all the phone sex. But it was sung lead by Wilson Pickett himself, as well as Eddie Floyd. It was another really great soul and R&B singer. I featured one of his songs already too. That was "Knock on Wood." I think that was number 2835, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, I guess that's all I have to say about the song 6345789 Soulsville, USA. Now I'm going to talk about the artist Wilson Pickett. Put the gun here. So Wilson Pickett, he's I think he's probably one of the greatest soul and R&B singers of all time. Kind of close to popularity, I'd say, to James Brown, and definitely one of my favorite soul music singers. He was born in Detroit, Michigan in 1941. Unfortunately, he died kind of young. He died in 2006. But you know, he started out with a gospel choir like a lot of other soul singers did. I think he had even more R&B hits than pop hits. I'm just going to go through his pop hits now. He had a lot of. So his first pop hit was in 1963. It was called "If You Need Me." That went to number 64. He followed that up with "It's Too Late," which went to 49. That's not to be confused with "It's Too Late" by Carole King, which is a really excellent song that went all the way to number 1, coming up much higher on my list. And then he also had I'm going to my last heartbreak, which went to 95. And then in 1965, he had one of my favorite, probably my favorite song of his, "In the Midnight Hour." That one only went to number 21, but I love that song. That one's also coming up much higher on my list. I'm not going to say how high. And then he had "Don't Fight It," which went to 53. I don't think that's the same "Don't Fight It" by Steve Perry and Don Henley, I believe. And then in 1966, he had the song I'm featuring today, 6345789 Soulsville, USA, which went to number 13. And then he had 99 and a half Won't Do, which went to 53. Another really excellent song of his, "Land of a Thousand Dances." I think that was his biggest hit. That went all the way to number 6. That was a cover, actually. I don't know if he wrote this song, but the original hit version was done by kind of an obscure group called Cannibal and the Headhunters. They had a hit with it in 1965, the previous year. And then finally, he had a song in 1966. He had another really well-known hit of his, "Mustang Sally," which went to number 23. And then in 1967, he had "Everybody Needs Somebody to Love," which went to 29. I don't think that's the same song as "Somebody to Love" by Jefferson Airplane, which is a really excellent song. Came out the same year. Then he had "Funky Broadway," which went to number 8. "I'm in Love," which went to 45. And another well-covered song, "Stagger Lee," which went to 22. Stagger Lee is an old folk song. I think it was written around the turn of the 20th century about a real guy who murderer. Yeah, so that was actually done by several artists. The biggest version was by Lloyd Price, I believe. His version went all the way to number 1 in 1959, but a lot of other people covered, including Wilson Pickett. And then in 1968, he had "Jealous Love," which went to number 50, and She's Looking Good," which went to 15. "I'm a Midnight Mover," which went to 24. "I Found a True Love," which went to 42. "A Man and a Half," which also went to 42. And then he had a cover of what I think is probably the Beatles' greatest hit of all time, "Hey Jude." His version only went to number 23. "Hey Jude" was the biggest hit by the Beatles, spent 9 weeks at number 1. It's also the biggest of all the ones I'm featuring by the Beatles, spoiler alert. I'm not going to say how high it is on my list, though. And then in 1969, he had "Miniskirt Minnie," which went to number 50. "Born to Be Wild," which went to 64, another pretty famous song originally done by Steppenwolf and featured in the movie Easy Rider. And then he had Hey Joe, which went to 59, another cover. The original version was by Jimi Hendrix. And then he had You Keep Me Hanging On, which went to 92, another cover. The original was by Diana Ross and the Supremes. The version went all the way to #1 and was also a top 10 hit for Vanilla Fudge following year, 67. So those were the hits for, oh no, I'm not even done. That's just up to the 60s. And then in 1970, he had a cover of Sugar Sugar, which went to 25. That was originally recorded by the Archies, which was a cartoon group. I believe it was written by Ron Dante, if I'm not mistaken. The original version went to #1 the previous year. And then he had Cold Coke and Redding, which went to 91. I guess that's a reference to Nat King Cole and Otis Redding, two really, really great R&B singers. I think Coke is just a reference to Coca-Cola, probably maybe cocaine, I don't know. And then he had She Said Yes, which went to 68, and Engine #9, which went to 14. And then in 1971, he had Don't Let the Green Grass Fool You, which went to #17. Don't Knock My Love, which went to 13. Call My Name, I'll Be There, which went to 52. And Fire and Water, which went to 24. In 1972, we had Funky Factory, which went to 58. And Mama Told Me Not to Come, which went to 99. That was originally recorded by Three Dog Night a couple of years earlier. Their version went all the way to #1. And then in 1973, he had Mr. Magic Man, which went to 90. And Take a Closer Look at the Woman You're With, which went to 90. So like I said, a lot of hits for Wilson Pickett, and he was a really great singer and songwriter, I think. So anyway, that completes my video for today, my feature on 6345789 by Wilson Pickett. So thank you for watching. Here's a little Blues Brothers thank you. And I'll see you guys next time.